And welcome to live at Apex for the last day here, day 3 in Anaheim. I'm joined by Todd Rountree from Austin American. Nice to see you, Todd.
Always great to see you as well, Trevor.
Yeah, so you've recently done some fairly innovative stuff by separating the modules in the cleaning process. So explain to our audience roughly what it is you've done.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've tried to break up the actual process, the board washing process, on an inline configuration. So our standard, or basically a standard industry-wide norm, would be using a unibody construction where your chemical wash, isolation, water rinse, and dry was all in one piece of equipment.
Right.
We've decided to separate, or saw some benefit in separating those processes, where you only have your chemistry module that strictly does chemistry, so one machine for chemistry wash and isolation, and then a second machine that does your water rinse and dry.
Right. Okay. So let's look at what the benefits of doing that. I mean, presumably, in the unibody version, you're using a single belt to drive it, so it's going at a single belt speed.
That's correct.
You can vary the belt speeds, obviously, in using the modular system.
Yeah, so really two great benefits for separating the machines and having two separate belts. First being that, kind of like what you mentioned, you can actually run them at different speeds. So if you need more contact time on your chemistry portion, you can actually slow that belt to make sure that you get good chemistry, contact time, cleaning, all of that in that section. Then once it transfers over onto the other belt, into the water rinse module, you can actually speed that process up, run it a little bit faster, therefore giving you a little more process control. The other benefit of splitting those belts is you never run the risk of chemical carryover into your rinse section. You have a natural break between the two machines.
Right.
The belt can't carry anything over, and there's no risk of blowing. Basically, like in a unibody, you can create some steam, turbulence, things like that would blow chemistry into the other section. You don't have that risk when they're separated.
Right. Right. So if you were in a high mix environment and you are making different types of products and which maybe needed different types of cleaning, could you invest in, say, two of the chemistries, or the chemistry units, the front, to have different chemistries in them?
You could. Generally wouldn't be practice, but you definitely,
Right.
that's kind of an interesting take on that. I hadn't thought of, but yeah, you definitely could.
Yeah.
Generally what we would see is, for a contract manufacturer, the flexibility of, if they're using strictly a water-soluble flux, and they only need water washing, all they have to do is buy a water-soluble cleaner. And
Right.
we're not the only ones that do that. Several of our competitors, do water-only cleaners as well.
Right.
The flexibility of ours, though, is that if they grow to a point, or they get a new customer that requires cleaning, no clean, or basically have to clean with a saponifier,
Right.
they don't have to go out and buy a brand new machine. All they do is buy a chemistry module to put in front of their existing machine.
Got it.
So definitely gives them that flexibility. And then for a contract manufacturer that's doing both chemistry wash and water soluble wash, the other benefit is the operators can simply, for the water soluble, walk up to the water soluble unit and place the board there, rather than having to run it through a complete chemistry area and then into water soluble.
Okay.
So more flexibility.
More flexibility.
Yeah.
So does these 3 units then combined extend the footprint of the system?
So no, and you're basically, your chemistry unit is going to be the same size as it would be in a unibody. The only difference you might have is going to be your offload on the chemistry unit going into the water soluble unit, and the onload there could add a little bit of space. But what we see is that our footprint is actually the same, or a little bit less sometimes, than a unibody machine.
Okay. And what about cost? Because you're adding extra engineering in there, extra metal, as it were. There must be an increase in cost, surely.
There actually isn't. So we're using the same components.
Okay.
You still have to have a pump, you still have to have a blower, all of those same components. The only additional that we'll see is you do have an additional PLC, an additional electrical box, and additional HMI, but surprisingly we've been able to remain very competitive, usually less than a unibody design.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. Well, it's certainly a very innovative idea, and congratulations. So, where are you making that? Are you making that at your AquaClean facility? Are you making that?
Yeah, those are actually built right here in Anaheim, California.
Really?
About
Okay.
a mile and a half here from the convention center.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for telling us about that. And anything else coming down the pipe that we can talk about later in the year?
We're hoping for an exciting year, but we do have some more development planned. Assuming we can get around to it. We'd like to be too busy to get to it, but you never know. Hopefully next year we'll actually have a new piece of equipment. We're going to try to introduce it at Apex next year. So
Okay.
Definitely some things on deck, but not exactly started yet.
Right. Okay. Well, good luck with that then, Todd, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again next year.
Absolutely, me as well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, no problem. So coming up after the break, we're going to be talking to the next guest in our panel today.